Welcome back to another week of Connect with Jonathan and Mark. This was one of the most fun episodes and the most non-planned episode, and I'll tell you why in a second. Guys, we are having Sarah Edmondson, who hosts one of the best podcasts that I've listened to in a very long time, A Little Bit Culty. I was just on her show, and you're going to have to listen to that episode. It's like all unsolved cases of a cult. It is absolutely crazy. So how I even met Sarah was my good friend, Kate Casey. She is my biggest hype person out there. She's been helping me for years. And we connected and we're like, we have to record. So as we are prepping to go onto the show, I literally tell my producers, I go, oh my God, click record. There's someone coming through already immediately. Like, because typically in the beginning of podcasts, just so you guys know, we chit chat here and there, just make sure everything is good. I was like, guys, hit record and get out of the room. And immediately some family members came barging through, so much so that she had to get up and run to get tissues. You're not going to want to miss hearing who came through and what was said. Guys, welcome Sarah. You do have someone that is barging through. It's a J.A. name.
J.A.?
Like Jack, James.
Jack.
It seems like, I can't tell if he's a grandfather or like some type of figure to you, but he is the greatest person, how he's coming through. I mean, you guys must have just like completely had the best relationship. He's also giggling at this. So I want to ask you, because he was showing this to me before. So this is going to be really weird. So trust me on this. Yeah. Okay. So I'm about to stand up and show you something. It's going to be weird, but bear with me. It all is going to correlate together. He said that he has a phrase that brings up whether it's army or military, because he keeps pointing at my pants. And he keeps talking to me about, so this is what I wanted to ask you. He keeps saying that he's the king, and he's laughing at this. He can make jokes I can see a lot. So that's why I'm always saying this. You know, people that make up phrases that you're just like, what the heck does that even mean? Like the king of just like, he keeps saying babbling nonsense at times, but he's saying,
do you want me to tell you what it is?
I kind of want to know, because he kept pointing at my shorts, and I use these when I go running. So I'm like...
I'm dying. My mother is going to die when she hears this. His phrase was, oh yeah, tell it to the Marines.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Really? What does that mean?
If I told him something, it just means like,
say sure. Like tell it to them, whatever. Yeah, okay.
Tell it to the Marines.
That's funny.
And I've never heard anybody else say it.
Yeah, he kept pointing out my shorts. I didn't know it had something to do with like military, was army or something. But another thing too, he keeps like dying about. So he's laughing at this and he's saying, you will appreciate this. I'm only laughing because he's laughing. I'm not laughing at, like, he just has such a great personality. So that's why I'm just laughing. So he keeps saying, like, do you know people that, he keeps taking a glass and like dinging it. You know when people ding glass for speeches, like unnecessary speeches? He keeps going like this and dinging his glass. And he keeps saying, everyone be quiet, listen to me, type of like he's going to speak.
Yep.
But his big thing that he keeps like emphasizing to me, which I can see that he's a huge family person, like a very big family person. That family meant everything times like 10 to him. Like I can't even put it into words if I'm being quite honest with you. He keeps saying he's with a J.U. name, like Jules, Julia, Juliet.
Juliet. He's with Juliet?
Well, he keeps holding hands with a Juliet or something.
They're together?
He's holding hands with her. And he keeps saying that he needs you to know, like, they're back together, and that, I don't know if this is going to make sense to you, but he's saying, like, I don't want to, it's kind of like when you lose someone so close to you that you love, like you feel like a part of you is gone, like just completely gone. Yeah. But he's saying he had such a good brave face, like after, I guess, she like passed away, he keeps saying he made sure family was even more emphasized, that the importance of it. Because he's saying he feels whole again right now. Like being with her, he feels whole again. And he's saying to me, he needs you to know that, because he keeps saying that he would bring up conversations about her to you. He's saying he would bring up just like stories about stuff like randomly, because he's saying that he never wanted to truly forget the essence of who she was as a person and what he's thankful for you about, which is what he's, talking to me about her. I guess when he was alive, and I guess your family, maybe grandchildren or whoever, they knew about her and they also knew about him. Like, it was like one of those where it's like keeping someone's name alive. I don't think people realize how important it is to them on the other side. Like, it just is. What he's also like showing to me too, and he's smiling at this, again, I'm laughing because of him. I'm not laughing because he keeps doing sing-alongs with me. Sing-alongs. And he keeps just like laughing about like he was like the partner of sing-alongs for whatever person it was. And he keeps just waving and going back and forth. And he's also talking to me, which I find so, I think amazing about him. Like, money comes and goes, but memories stay forever is what he keeps showing to me. And that memories with the people that mean the most to you. And he's saying that he felt like he was able to give a lot of memories with the people that he felt. Because he keeps talking, and it doesn't matter about vacations and things like that. But he is talking about like getting everyone together to experience like whether it's a vacation, a holiday, or whatever it is. His main thing is bringing everyone from all walks together, whether people are from different states or whatever it is, like family, and everyone having a good time. But he's saying to me that he felt like he just, and he keeps going back to Juliet. Is that her name, or Julia? Because he keeps
Juliet.
talking. That's Juliet. Okay. Because he keeps talking to me about with her that, and I know I already said this, but he's going a little bit more into detail about this, which is why I'm just bringing it back up about when she passed away. It seems that it was like a twofold thing. Like, he felt broken, but also felt like the importance of family. And he's just showing me stuff a little bit more into detail about it, because he's just showing to me that he stepped up, he didn't step back, is what he keeps saying. Like, it's like, because I'm sure people just like I know people. When people pass away, sometimes people become extremely, like, when I say introvert and stuff, they just want to be alone by themselves and they don't want to deal with people. He's saying it was quite the opposite. But what he's thanking you about is you gave him, he's laughing at this, sing-alongs, dance recitals, like everything. Like, you gave him what he's always needed in his life. And he's saying that you were always such a lending, I know this is going to sound funny, but you really were such a lending ear to him when he wanted to talk about stories that he's laughing at now, because he's saying, like, hindsight's 2020. He can see that it's like sometimes people, like, even with my grandparents, I used to not understand the single thing they were saying about stories. I would just smile and nod and be like, that's amazing. Like, and he's saying to me that I don't think you realize how special you are to him, but the sense of giving him purpose of a family again, because he keeps, I don't know if you have children that he was able to kind of meet maybe for like a little bit, because he's saying you gave him purpose of like meeting, whether it's grandchildren or great grandchildren or something. Because he keeps talking about, I know this is going to sound silly, you like kind of revived him a little bit in this sense. Like, you kind of gave him like a new perspective, because what he's saying to me also, major thing, have to ask you this. This is bizarre. Have to ask you this. He keeps talking about like old music, like Frank Sinatra and all that stuff, but he's really emphasizing to me about, wait, so is Juliet then your grandmother then?
Yeah, but I never met her.
Because she has a lot. The reason why I'm asking you is because she keeps saying she's watched you. So when someone says they've watched you, that means that they've passed away prior to like you didn't really have like a relation, like, not that you didn't have relationships, kind of like, you didn't really get to know or meet her, because she keeps smiling, saying like, don't think she hasn't like watched you. And what she's saying that you are, she keeps talking about the bravery that you face, but she's laughing, saying, I don't know if people have told you, but, and I'm sure people have, but you kind of like, she's saying our guys are pretty similar. And your grandfather's saying that too, that you guys are like kind of very similar, because he's saying the bravery that you have, but also the kindness at the same time. He's saying it's like one of the best mixes you can have. And she's smiling, saying I know this is going to sound silly, and trust me, it might, but she's saying that she felt like she sprinkled a little bit of herself into you when you came to this, because she's saying, like, I have to be honest, like, he's saying this too. You guys are very similar from what he's saying, like, and he's saying that it was spoken about within like the family that you guys are just really, really similar. It's really interesting. And he's saying too, because he's thanking you for being with him from beginning, middle to end, is what he keeps talking to me about. Because he's saying you made, and I won't get into the details of it, I'll do it privately with you, but he keeps saying you made the transition from being here to going to this next phase of life very smooth, if I'm being honest, because he keeps grabbing and kissing your face, really? Saying that you deserve like a lot of like things.
Really?
He have like a very big smile too, like, because he keeps showing his teeth to me, like, not that he would show like his teeth like that, but he's just, I don't.
Can I show you a picture?
Yeah, I want to see, because he doesn't have veneers or anything. Oh my god, he did. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah, that's the teeth. Okay, because he's going like this to me, so I'm like, he's just the happiest person. And he keeps also talking to me too about, he also seems very educated as well, which I wanted to bring up too. Like, he seems like, yeah. Well, he's laughing, saying you'll get this. And he keeps saying that he's tooting his own horn right now, but that's why he
surprising.
Yeah, I know. That's why he's saying you'll get a kick out of this. But he keeps saying that he was always very educated in like what was going on in the world. So he keeps showing to me, like, he tried to be as when I say up to date, it could be whatever that is. But like, he keeps saying that education was like pretty important to him. Like, as far as like staying, he became, wait, so I wanted to ask you this, because he keeps pulling himself to you. He keeps saying he became very like attached to you after something. Like, after something happened, he's like, he did not want to let you go. Like, and what he's also saying too, which I wanted to also bring up, what I was saying to you about before about the passing and stuff. I know this is going to sound, I know I keep saying this, but I know it's going to sound weird, and I don't want to come across weird.
Not at all.
But you do know that, and I'm sure you do, this is just what he's showing to me, but you helped him cross over. And typically what that means, and I want to explain to you because of what he's showing to me, when someone is going through something, whatever it is, and you can see that they're struggling, and you're like, it's okay to let go. Like, it's okay to let go. And sometimes I don't think people realize that's the biggest blessing you can give someone. Because what he's saying is he needed that final closure from you specifically. Not that he didn't love anyone else in your family, because that's not what I'm saying. There's something very unique and different with you, with him, that, like, he said he needed to make sure that you were okay as you can get, is like with him, like, letting go. Because he's putting his hand on your hand, saying that it was the most courageous decision that you had to make internally. Like, it was one of those where you didn't want him to go, but you just knew. And he's thanking you, because he's saying, and he's laughing, he keeps hitting his arm, like flexing, saying like he would have held on a lot longer if you needed him to, is what he keeps saying. Like, he would have made sure, because he keeps smiling at me, saying that he just needed the permission from you to, like, really take that next journey in life. Like, just to, really. And what he's saying to me also, because he's, again, like, has that really big smile with his teeth and stuff. He's saying that he was tampering on both sides for quite some time. He keeps saying to me that, I'll use this as an example. It's like if you're in a pool and you have goggles on, but you're like eye level with the water, you can see below the surface and above the surface. He's saying that he was like that for a little bit, but he's smiling, saying he never complained or spoke about anything. It was something that he keeps smiling, saying he kept things close to his chest. He didn't want people to know what was really going on, because he's saying that the majority of your family, including yourself, but he's saying he was more honest with you than other people in your family, it seems, because he's saying, and he's laughing, you'll know 40% of what's going on, but everyone else will only know 15. So he's like, you still had that huge jump on people, but he's saying there was still a huge portion where he did not want to scare, frighten, or bother anyone, because he's saying that he felt like he was like the caretaker. He wanted to take care of anyone and make sure everyone was kind of situated. and he's smiling because he's pointing at you, and he's saying that you took over his role. You didn't mean to, and he's laughing. He's saying it fell on your lap, but you're doing a damn good job, because he's saying you're making sure everyone in your family, how he would, is taken care of, but most importantly, he keeps saying is heard, because he's saying that yes, he's making a joke about his stories, but he would always be a lending ear for people, but he'd always put his 2 cents in, is what he keeps saying. Like it would be hard for him not to put his 2 cents in. But he's saying that you've become like this like family where you're taking care of people, and he's just forever grateful about that. So, well, thank you for letting me do this on here. Holy crap, I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I can't, some of that stuff, I have no idea. It's just amazing to me. But he was one of the last people. He was literally on his deathbed as I was leaving NXIVM. He provided a safe reason for me to exit, because I was supposed to attend to all these things. And I was like, my grandfather's sick. So it was an excuse for me to leave. And I told him before I even told everybody else I was leaving NXIVM. And he was very relieved. And I think that's what you mean by he was waiting to know that I was okay so he could cross over.
Yeah, because that was a huge thing for him. And I'm not saying that he didn't care about anyone else in your family, but there was something very specific. And that's what I was saying. Like he kept pointing at you, saying he needs to make sure you were all good with like your situation. Like I have to say, like I read people all the time, and obviously, but he's a pretty freaking loving grandfather, and seems like he would have barreled through people to make sure you were okay. Like he just seems like that type of guy to me. And the connection that, and yes, I know I keep saying this, but I know he loves your family, like, you know, everyone, but there was something very unique and special with you that that's why I said before we were recording, someone was barging through. I mean, his personality and him like can dominate a room. I mean, it's pretty, it's pretty remarkable, but he is so proud of you, because he's saying that you started something very important, because he's saying you're helping people. And that's something that he is very big into. I can tell he always wants to make sure people are taken care of. I mean, he literally keeps saying with you that he needed to make sure that you were all good. Like that's all he just wanted to make sure. And I can tell you this, aside from him being reunited with Juliet and everything, the fact that you're in a good position, you're taken care of, he's smiling, saying he can rest. Like it's like one of those where like that's how much he cares about you. And like, yes, and your family too. I don't want to discredit your family in any way, but there's something with you in particular. And that's why I didn't want to talk to you first and then do the reading. I'm like, he's coming through so strong. I'm like, I have to do this right now. So
we're on his time schedule.
That makes sense. He was coming through this morning. I went through a run, like from a run, and he kept pointing at my shorts, like I was telling you. And I'm like, maybe he's an Army vet. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, because like that's what they do. Sometimes they'll come through the night before, the morning of, because they want to be said first.
Really?
Yeah, they want to be said first because they're that close to people, and they don't want someone else to step forward. And so he was doing stuff where he was like kept tapping my shorts, and I'm literally wearing them still right now. And like, you know, I can't turn it off as much as I want to turn it off. So when I'm on my run, I'm like trying to clear my head to get ready just for the day and stuff. And I'm like, this guy keeps coming through. I'm like, he must really be like someone important to you. So I was hoping that it was someone important to you. Because if you're like, who the heck is this? Like, what? Like who the heck is this? I would have been like, oh no.
He's very important to me. And he passed 5 years ago. So I've had time. Yeah, it has some time to process. There's a couple people, or one person in particular that had passed more recently that I've been thinking about and was hoping to connect with. And we can talk about that later with Papa Jack. We call him Papa Jack. I'm going to show you this. This is him and Juliet. This is in my office.
Oh my God.
And I was named after her, Sarah Juliet. You can see on my license.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God.
So you definitely sprinkled that. When you say she sprinkled herself. And my mom did a reading with a medium in the 80s and shared with me, I must have been 8 or 9 or 10 at the time, and told my mom that, all sorts of stuff that like there's no way anyone could know. And ever since then, I said that Juliet was with me and watching and with us. And I've just felt her ever since. Knowing that made me believe, and then I've believed ever since. So, I probably wouldn't be on this podcast if I didn't believe in that.
No, 100%. No, it's funny because like people will come on this show, whether they believe or not, whatever, but it's really the crime stuff that draws them because they're like, like how did you even do that? Right. Like, so it's nice when people do come on in general that believe, because it makes the readings more enjoyable versus me being like, all right, like I have to prove.
You got to convince somebody.
Yeah. It's like proving. It's like, oh my God, I've been doing this for, trying to prove for so long that I'm like, oh my God. Like, but I do get it because it's not normal. It's like not normal. Like, trust me, like I was not supposed to be doing this. I was supposed to be a cop. This is not what was my thing. And, it just kind of took over. So I'm blessed I'm able to help people. And I'm happy that you came on believing. I wanted to ask you were in NXIVM when he passed away?
I had just we call it woken up. I had just figured out that it was bad. And when he was actually he was like in the hospital about to get a surgery. And I came to him and I told him, because I knew always that he was worried about me. But many people were. I just thought that they didn't understand. So he was one of the first people I told, I'm not doing that anymore. I've realized some things about the company are bad. I was kind of vague about it. He actually lived and was in and out of hospital for maybe another 2 years, but was quite sick and kind of like almost died and then got back out and in that time.
Yeah, because it seemed like he was such a fighter, and that's what he kept saying. So that's why I was like, he held on, it seems, to make sure he would truly, truly settle. Yeah. And that's like such a remarkable thing. Like, I think it's super remarkable. So, because he's just like so over the moon and over the top. And like, he was really happy that you left, it seems, because he's saying that, I don't really know too much about NXIVM, but I know obviously from what I've seen, like, it's a cult and all that stuff. But he's saying that when you left, it's like he can see new life in you, is what he keeps like showing to me. And that's why he's so happy, because it's like a new life. And what exactly brought you into NXIVM? Like, and how long ago was that? Was that when you were younger?
I joined when I was 27. So I was in for 12 years.
Oh, wow. And I'm sorry if I'm, asking questions that people already know. It's just,
it's fine.
Yeah, I'm so curious about this, just because I've done a couple of unsolved cases where people were a part of cults, and to help the law enforcement and the family, I have to be honest, was really difficult because they wouldn't share. There was a case that I did, and the mom was in a self-help cult, whatever you want to call it, down in Maryland. And this was back in the 90s. And the daughter reached out to me with law enforcement saying, like, they have something, but they need one more thing, and they're not really sure. So I said something. I kept repeating someone's name, essentially, is what happened. And I think when the law enforcement people, the detectives went to this guy, he said that he was afraid because he was part of it and the people above him orchestrated some of this, and he didn't want to be killed next, is what he kept saying. Because he's saying that she was trying to leave, and that's why I was so curious. She was trying to leave, and one of the head people of this self-help situation was obsessed with her, didn't want her to leave, and did one of the most horrific things. And they needed to know exactly who did it because no one was speaking. Not a single person was speaking. Right. So I had to come in and try my best. And, the detectives did everything. I was just leading them into something. And I've always been fascinated by that because I saw how difficult it was. It happened in 1992. I wasn't even born. It was one of the ones that I have to be honest, freaked me out a little bit, just because of the detectives were telling me that group, they don't speak. like you have to be in there, and if you're in there then you'll
Yeah.
know, but if you're not, if you're an outsider and you try to poke in, like that's a problem and you don't want to do that. And is there any similarities with like with what you went through?
Yeah. There's thousands of cults in the US, and you hear about the big ones like ours or Scientology, or ones
Mhm.
where there's, you know, like Jim Jones or Waco, where there's a big catastrophe, right? Or
Right.
people die or there's a mass suicide. You hear about those ones, but there's thousands of little, we call them like mom and pop cults,
Yeah.
where it's small, like maybe under 100 people, under 50 people, or even just like there's what we call family cults, where usually it's the dad, not always. There's
Right.
some culty moms out there, but more times than not, it's the dad, and they are abusing their power and they're running their family like a cult, or a small pastor running their church like a cult. It's the same patterns of abuse. It's just in a smaller setting.
I find that so, at least for me, fascinating. Just, I know it's like not even a fascinating thing, it's a horrible thing, but I
Yeah.
know like, I know this is going to sound bad, but like when people are vulnerable and they lose someone, right? They'll go to a medium potentially, right? Oh, they'll go to someone that's like spiritual, right? Because they want the guidance of like, is my mom there, my dad there, my brother there, my sister, whoever. And I've learned just from doing just readings and stuff that sometimes people are so vulnerable that they'll go into these places. And I think like, and I'm not bashing religions in any way, not even slightly, but I think they go into things that are like that, and they just give themselves fully and push away. Like I've seen it before with people, like on the spiritual
Hmm.
side, like they have to go to this place, this land, and kind of be one with
An
earth.
ashram.
Yeah, something like, yeah. And I'm
Hmm.
like, and I tell people the truth. I'm like, listen, if that's what it is for you, that's fine. But I'm like, you don't need that to be connected with your fam. Like, you can literally just sit and just think about them, and that's like the best thing you can do. But I see it
Right.
all the time with like people, like, all the time. Do you see it a lot too?
Yeah. The fact is that cults or groups where there is a leader who are preying on people who are vulnerable know that people in a crossroads, whether it's a death or the end of a job or in between high school and college or whatever it is, they have a situational vulnerability. It's not a weakness. It's just they're at a crossroads, or they're in grief, or they're alone, or they're in a new town. And those leaders will look out for those people and offer them the thing that they want. And if sometimes that could be dangling the promise of connecting with people on the other side. It doesn't really matter. It's any dangle of the thing that the person wants, and that's how cults often recruit. So that makes sense. And I'm sure there's a lot of shady people out there that are pretending to do what you do, who aren't, right?
There's definitely a lot, and I see it a lot on social media, I will say, because I think that's where everyone's connected. So that's probably where the most
Mm.
eyeballs are. And I've seen it locally too, but I've seen it a lot. And I don't say anything because I don't want to be that guy to call people out and whatever. I just sit back and I'm just like, people sometimes have to come to their own conclusion with that stuff. Because the people that don't believe, there's like two things that I always tell people. Like, if people don't believe what I do, that's fine. I say, sit down with me for 10 minutes and let me change your mind. Like, don't, like, you don't have
Mm-hmm.
to say anything. Just sit down for 10 minutes and that's it. And there's other
Mm-hmm.
people that are so like, I call it cold reading at times. So, for example, if I'm like, there's a woman around you and you're like, my
Mm-hmm.
grandma passed away, you're like, your grandma's here. So, like, you're like kind
Mm-hmm.
of feeding off of them.
Yeah, you're leading them.
Yes, you're leading them. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why
Yeah.
when I do readings a lot, I tell people not to say anything or just say yes or no, because
Mm.
then you're not leading me in any direction, really. I'm just
Yeah.
doing what I'm like seeing. And, those are the red flags that, like, I guess I see when I'm on social media
Mm-hmm.
with it. And I will never call people out. I'm too much of a wuss to do it. So I probably would never do it. So I just I'm like to stay like kind of in my bubble right now. And
Yeah.
it's nice. But did you notice any red flags when you were in NXIVM?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So many red flags. I just didn't know what I was looking at. I heard a quote, like I think saw it on Instagram. It was, of course I saw the red flags. I just thought I was going to a carnival. So,
Yeah.
so people, in retrospect, you can say, oh, yeah, that happened, that happened, that happened, that happened. But if you don't know what the red flags mean, you either dismiss it or it's cognitive dissonance. it's when you have two contrary pieces of information and you can't reconcile it. So, for example, in NXIVM, we were told that the leader was celibate, that he was so evolved, he didn't need sex. He was a monk. He didn't need material possessions. And early on, I got a hit, like a red flag, that one of the young women that I'd brought in with me, a friend of mine, an actress, was having a relationship with him, that there was something sexual there. That was like an intuitive hit that I got. And then I was like, no, that's not appropriate, because in this NXIVM was like self-help as therapy. We weren't allowed to have relationships with the students. He would never have relationships with the students. And also, I thought he was unattractive. So I was like, for a multitude of reasons, I dismissed it, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's the same thing when in like a domestic violence situation. It's, let's say a woman, thinks that most of the time her husband's a great dad and is loving or whatever, but every now and then he drinks and is abusive. Instead of acknowledging both truths, she has to ignore one to maintain the good. So that's cognitive dissonance. And it's like, it's an uncomfortable feeling to hold both. And so what people tend to do is suppress the one thought and ignore it. So they're kind of like, oh no, we're great. Everything's fine,
Yeah.
Toxic positivity. So yeah, I saw that a lot next time. I saw many, many red flags that, knowing what I know now with the education I've had and the, hundreds of guests that we've spoken to on our podcast, I can see it a mile away. I can see the red flags. I'm like, oh, there's somebody trying to love bomb you. There's somebody trying to isolate you from your friends and family. There's somebody trying to create a dependency on this other program, whether it's the church or, AA or a yoga studio, and they're trying to like insulate you and make you dependent through love and affection and making you feel special. Like I can just see it so clearly. I wish I had the education when I was 27. I wouldn't have even signed up, because I would have felt pressured to sign up, which was one of the tactics.
Where did you sign up? Or like, how did you hear of it?
I heard about it through a filmmaker that I really admired and had made a film that I respected greatly. And I met him at a film festival. Ironically, it was the Spiritual Cinema Circle Festival at Sea. And it was this cruise that went from Florida to the Bahamas. And I was with all of like 300 spiritual filmmakers. And actually, one of the filmmakers, did you ever see that film about Robin Williams, he's like with his wife on the other side?
Yes.
I'm forgetting what it's called.
I know exactly what you're talking about, because people always reference that with me. They always reference that one, and they reference Ghost. But they always reference Robin, that movie you're talking about. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So the person who made that movie, and whose name I'm totally remiss, and I just can't remember it right now, but he put on this film festival. So there's a lot of people who believed in this kind of thing, very spiritual, conscious, whatever you want to call them. And that I met a filmmaker who told me about the program, and I was very open. I had set the intention of like, I want to figure out my purpose. I was acting at the time. I didn't think that was fulfilling enough. And so when that opportunity came along, I just jumped on it. I didn't even research it or anything.
I think a lot of people would do the same. I think I may have too. If I'm being honest, like if I met like this medium person and they were someone who I looked up to, and they're like, you need to join this place, and this is the place where you're going to evolve. This is where you're going to do it. I would really strongly consider doing it, because I'd be like, this person's like someone who I looked up to. Maybe I don't know them firsthand super close, but if they're like, you have potential, you should go there. My mind would have been like, okay, like he sees something in me, or she sees something in me. And if they went there and they turned out like this, then maybe if I go there, I could turn out like this and help people. So I could literally see how like that could be such a manipulate, because like I would fall, like I'm not gonna lie, I probably would fall for it. like in this sense, like I'd be like, I want to turn out like them. If they're helping all these people doing this, and this is the avenue that they took, that's kind of what I would do. Like I look at John Edwards, for example. He's like a few towns over from me, and I looked at what he did, and I was like, as far as like how his career went, like. So I was like, this is like how I want to be. He shows up with a backpack. That's what I do. I literally bring a backpack with me when I go to readings. I don't dress up. I wear sweatpants and a hoodie. I'm in and I'm out, right? Like I want to do what I have to do. And that's what he did because my mom went to him and stuff. But if he told me or someone like him told me that, game over for me. Like,
totally. So we call that leveraged trust.
Yeah.
Leveraging your trust. My husband and I are writing a book about everything we've learned since starting the podcast, because we've talked to all these cult survivors and therapists and experts, and we want to be able to give people a resource if they get out of a cult or they're seeking and they want to protect themselves. And we just wrote that chapter on leveraged trust, and that's how it works. I mean, if some random dude on the street came up and said, "Hey, spend $2,000 on a personal development program," I would have not even looked at him, right? But because it came from this person who I held on a pedestal, then I didn't question it, which is super important for people to know that even on Instagram, just because you have a lot of followers, people give them that street cred, which is so misleading.
It's funny you say that because what we spoke about before about, maybe the spiritual people that aren't 100% honest with their ability or gift, some of them have millions of followers, like millions. It's because they make these videos and people want to believe so bad. They just want to believe so bad. And I see these people and I hear about certain people that have these millions of followers and stuff. And I'm like, yikes, man. Like, this is what you guys are like looking up to. But I'm like, if that gives someone hope, then that's all that matters, I guess. Right. But I just sit there and I'm like, there's people will believe someone if they have a bunch of followers. They just have millions of people following. For some reason, people trust them. And I've learned that actually through, like, years ago when I was just starting out to go to LA. What I was told was you need to read celebrities. That's how people are going to trust you. So I was reading celebrities and I was just like, this is so not fulfilling to me. But because I was doing it, people like believe that this Joe Schmo said this about me, so it must be real. So I need to come to you because this person said that. But for all they know, I could have done, like, it could have been staged. Like, no one knows like the true experience other than me and the person. Not that happened, but I've learned the power of followers, social media, and like influence is probably the best thing.
Right.
Just like if someone says something, all these people are gonna be like, all right, let's do it. It's crazy to me. I would say experience it first.
Yeah, there must be so many skeptics. Like, I'm sure somebody might listen to this and go, oh, he could have Googled her and found out her middle name is Juliet and like made that leap.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
But there's so many other things that you said about Jack and Juliet that are not on the internet. I've never spoken about publicly.
Yeah, and that's what I try to do, but it's such a fine line because your life is on the internet now. So it is such a fine line.
My life especially is on the internet because of the NXIVM stuff, but there's lots of things I haven't spoken about. I've tried to keep my family as private as possible.
What were some of the experiences that maybe you can share during the cult that were different than like a normal society of like what was going on?
Yeah, I do try to let people know that, it was really wonderful at first. And the reason I joined and the reason I stayed is that it was, other than the leadership at the top, most of the people were really wonderful and really did care about personal development and personal growth. And we had a great community that was all supporting each other doing that. I love doing what I did. And Jack's right. I was helping people in it, but when it was still good. And then I helped people get out of it when we realized it was bad, which took a long time. Took a long time to see what was really going on. And that was an easy decision for me to leave when I saw everything. Like I couldn't see the whole picture. And the metaphor I like to use is like one of those those paintings where it's like a 3D and you like finally let your eyes relax and the thing comes forward. Like when that happened, it was an easy decision. But I've been out now for 7 years, and it's a really long healing journey. And part of that journey is understanding, how do cults work? How do they get you? How do they retain you? How do they lie to you? How do they use your own values against you? And part of educating myself has been, doing our podcast and talking to other people. And it's just been kind of this wild silver lining of like, hey, here we are. I get to talk to you. what a bonus, that never would have happened otherwise.
Same here, honestly. Same here. I feel like this has been amazing. Like just talking to you and learning about you and your experience, and also connecting you to Papa Jack. So
honestly, when you said the Army, instantly the first thought was tell it to the Marines, because that's something he used to say. Other funny sayings like, "Oh, put it in your pipe and smoke it," but
yeah.
Which I have heard other people say. But tell it to the Marines, I've never heard anyone else say ever.
No, I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
He just kept tapping my shorts, and I'm like I said, I was like, military? Like, is he military? Like, was he like? And then he kept laughing. So I'm like,
was he? Did he acknowledge that was the reference when I said?
Oh yeah, his mouth got. He was like that. So I'm like, that has to be it. That's why I was like, that's hilarious, because he's so happy about it. Because he has a personality on him.
He does have a personality. And he was always the guy, I've had to reaffirm this for you, he was always the guy at the wedding who did the speeches with the glass. Like,
oh, he was? He seems like that to me.
Yeah, he's the ultimate patriarch.
Sarah, thank you so much for coming on. And guys, I just want to remind you, I just went on her show, A Little Bit Culty. It was so much fun. It was really fascinating just to dive into unsolved cases in the cult world. So guys, please don't forget to rate and review my show. And if you have any cases you want to send to me, DM it to me at Jonathan Mark Medium on Instagram, or email to me at connectjonathanmark@gmail.com. Have a great week.